residents across all 8 wards to take advantage of the mental health resources and services available to help them mourn the loss of loved ones and to standing by those we know are grieving. And whereas on August 31st, 2024, Grief Awareness Day participants will gather in Ward 5 dressed in white as a visual reminder of the possibilities for a brighter tomorrow. Now, therefore, I, the Mayor of Washington, D.C., do hereby proclaim August 31st, 2024 as Grief Awareness Day in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
That was an amazing introduction. Thank you. It's an honor to be here today. I love the grief space. I love yoga. I'm a door over 6 months now. Yeah, no, 6 or 7 months. But anyway, so yeah, we're gonna get moving today. When I first came into this room, like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm gonna do yoga in this room because I didn't know they were doing it this way. But people have heels on, so we're gonna probably take off our heels as well. But let me just start by saying, from behind the podium, can y'all still hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So yoga in its simplest form is uniting mind, body, and spirit. My experience with yoga, I've been doing it for 20 years. Someone asked if I could take my foot and put it behind my head. I'm like, no, I don't do that. Mine is gentle movement. But for me, the practice of yoga is learning how to get to a place of stillness and peace. And it's a way of learning how to center yourself. You get to a point where you can center yourself through connecting body, through connecting movement with breath. In that process, you bring yourself to the present moment, and in that present moment is where you get clarity. And so I think people think, oh, yoga, I'm just exercising, I'm just moving. I'm like, no, you're connecting movement with breath, and you're very intentional about it. You're in the present moment, and through that, bringing yourself to that place of presence is where you gain peace and some clarity. And in that clarity is where you find the truth of who you are, and where you decide, if you're trying to decide something, you decide how you want to respond to your outer world. So it could be that you're stressed out about something, it could be that you're in the grief space. So you're trying to decide, what do I want to do next with my life? What do I want to do in this grief space? How do I feel right now? So that's the power of yoga, is really just bringing yourself to the present moment and connecting breath to movement to get to that present moment. Y'all ready? Okay. So we're going to stay seated for right now. We're going to just gentle things. We're not doing anything crazy. You can, I think, if everyone can turn their chairs facing me.
In such a relaxed state, I'm not sure how we're supposed to continue. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Next, I want to welcome my dear friend. Her gentle, charismatic, soft, spiritual soul just brings so much peace to the world. I am honored, we are blessed to have her take time from her schedule to be with us and join us today in presencing the grief. Presencing the absence. Reverend Alex Escudero is the founding director and spiritual leader of the Center of Spiritual Living, DC, with a master's degree in international economics and a second one in consciousness studies. Alex worked for the United Nations Development Program in Angola and has also served as an ordained New Thought minister in Washington, D.C. for over 10 years. She's a native of Colombia and of the United States, and she is passionate, I mean real passionate, about social justice, inclusion, and belonging. My dear friend, Reverend Alex.
She learned that a dear colleague, a young man that I worked with for 10 years was diagnosed with 4th stage pancreatic cancer. And that was June 27th. And, you know, I just kind of looked at the sky and said, oh, this is how you're going to teach me about grief. You know, August 2nd, and I've been with his mom and dad, like, a lot. You know, if I was doing the back to school, how I spent my summer, that's what I would be sharing. And I learned so much about grief from Dora's excellent materials and all the work that she does. And also just firsthand from this family, I know that probably all of us here have a loved one that we're grieving. And presencing the absence is not anything new. I'm sure you've all experienced it before. It's a spiritual practice that I've come to use a lot this summer. And it's basically going to that place within. It was so beautiful with the yoga where we got to turn within a little bit. And one of my favorite yoga teachers is here too, so I do that with her on a regular basis. It's just such a wonderful way to stop and breathe and simply be in the present moment, very much in the present moment, and presence the absence. And so I'd like to do that a little bit as I wrap up. But first I just want to tell you a little bit more about my experience with grief. I do like to bring in the ancestors. I know that we're on sacred ground here in DC and anywhere in the United States. And I think about the people who lived here before. I grieve the way they were treated and are still treated today. And actually what a beautiful venue that you've chosen, because West Boys and Poets is about social justice. And the owner, Andy Shalal, actually ran for mayor 10 years ago. I encourage you to check out the bookstore. It's always great to learn about what's going on in other countries. I mean, we've got a lot going on here in the U.S., but there's always a lot going on in other countries, and it's very healthy to learn about what's going on. I mean, we think about individual grief, and we've all probably experienced individual grief, but there's so much collective grief in this country and around the world. I mean, it always blows my mind when I think about 40,000 Palestinians who've been killed in the last year. I mean, I think about this one person that I know that died on August 2nd, and then I try to think, I can't comprehend 40,000 people and the people that are still there that don't have access to water and health care. So it can get overwhelming very quickly, and it's important for us to keep it joyful, find ways to be joyful, find ways to celebrate the lives of those who lived that we knew, and those that we didn't know also. So I really honor that practice, and I honor us coming together for this Grief Awareness Day, and it's certainly been very personal to me in terms of my spiritual evolution. I've learned that, of course, you know, grief isn't one and done. It's something that is with us always. You know, it comes in different forms, and it's different for everyone. But there are ways to think about the good times, and to, you know, without doing like a spiritual bypass, to breathe and remember what we loved about that person. Even remember the fights. You know, there was certainly passion and energy in some of those interactions with people who have gone on, and find a way to forgive anyone that's passed that, you know, maybe we have a difficult relationship with. In terms of back to the ancestors, I find it really helpful to focus on someone in my past that was supportive of me. And in this case, it's the woman who adopted my dad. She's kind of what's called a gatekeeper for me. Like if I'm doing one of those poses in yoga that it's hard to hold, I might think of her and how she was so loving and just presence her energy and how she was like, you could do it. And so she's what I call a gatekeeper, this grandma. Is that 5 or like, thank you. My grandma, I can just presence her. And then I try to have someone on both sides of the family. So for my mom's side of the family, I think of a cousin who transitioned a few years ago, and just the joy she brought to my life. And it's just a presencing practice that always helps me to both feel the love and feel the energy. So with Rodrigo is my colleague who died on August 2nd. I was with him the day before he died, and as a minister, that seems to happen to me a lot. You know, and I've had to not say that, you know, they died the next day because I was with him. But I seem to have taken on this role where I've given people that are kind of on the edge or on the cliff, and they're kind of almost wanting permission to let go. And Rodrigo was saying to me, he wasn't really able to speak, but he was saying to me, promise me you will, promise me you will. And I couldn't understand what he wanted me to promise. And I did say, of course, Rodrigo, I promise you, I promise you. And so ever since then, I've had to interpret, you know, what is it that he wanted me to promise. And I actually kind of concluded that I would comfort his mom, because his mom and her dad and his dad have seen me in such different ways. And so just, I was there in the hospital, I was holding Rodrigo's hand, and feeling this amazing energy. It's the same energy that I feel when I go into meditation or the presence in the absence. I mean, he was still with us on this plane, but it was that infinite energy, that magnificent cosmic energy that we might not even understand, but that we can always get in touch with. Just closing our eyes and taking a few deep breaths and choosing to feel the infinite, whether, you know, we believe in this God or that God, or even if we're an atheist, you know, just believing in science, in quantum physics, you know, that we are pure energy, and that energy is neither created or destroyed, that when someone passes from this plane to another plane, they are still energy, different form of energy, but they're still energy, and we can tap into that energy. So I had a dream about Rodrigo maybe about a week after he transitioned.
This beautiful art that you see displayed.
We've got to fit in the back of my car. Right.
300526.
Give it to him again,
300526.
Yay! Maybe on the stage other than the art. Watch this step here. Thank you, Ashley. Okay, and while she is selecting her door prize, I still need to wind down from that, Reverend Allen. It feels like I'm at service. Some grief that we experience is really misunderstood. We are to have her as a member of our From Grief to Gratitude community. And just my heart for the work that she does. Dr. Grayman, wow. Let me just read it. She's a counseling psychologist and Maryland licensed psychotherapist, specializing in grief therapy and coaching with Black women. Her private practice, Wisdom Counseling Baltimore, LLC, utilizes a structured, integrated, and personalized approach to serve those living through loss. Dr. Grayman is an American Psychological Association Society for the Psychological Study of Social Issues, award-winning course design. An American Psychological Association Society for the Teaching of Psychology, published course design. A Teaching Excellence Award nominee. I can go on and on and on. It would take me a while. But I'm so honored that she agreed to take time from her busy schedule to to come and share with us. It's Labor Day weekend. And for her to come and share with us on working while grieving, a Labor Day reflection. Thank you so much for all that you do, not just in our DMV and Baltimore area, but that you do globally. Dr. Brandon.
Good afternoon. No, it's still morning. Good morning, everyone. So, I absolutely love living in Maryland. I'm a transplant from New York. As a nature enthusiast, I love the abundance of green spaces that are walkable and livable. And one of my favorites is in Howard County, Lake Elkhorn Park. Lake Elkhorn Park is a 2-mile covered, paved loop around a waterfowl inhabited lake. And I go there to experience separation and restoration from our industrial world. We live in very busy times. So emerging out of this sanctuary space one Saturday afternoon, I received an invitation to come and talk with all of you today about grief. And I received that invitation from my grief's gratitude instructor, Dora Carpenter. Now, although public speaking is part of what I do in my private practice, I actually only accept invitations to speak when I feel I actually have something to say, something worthwhile to say. And so I can be a quick no and a slow yes when it comes to these things. I was, of course, honored when I received the invitation from Dora, but I wasn't sure if I really had something to say. And believe it or not, I'm actually one of those public speakers who suffers from a little bit of stage fright. You know, I had to really think about it. But at the same time, my great respect and profound admiration for Dora and her work through the Institute for Professional Grief Coaching meant that the quick no was off the table. So, because in this world of grief care, the extent to which you know, like, and trust people really matters. Your reputation really matters, and Dora's reputation obviously is solid gold. Yes. So I was gonna need to sit with this one and set aside what is my typical kind of anxious, head mind, very heady mind, and open up my grounded kind of heart mind to really discern the right answer. And so I sat with it for about a day and clarity did come to me the next day, and I realized I actually did have something to say. So I accepted the invitation. So as Dora said, my name is Dr. Nyasha Brayman, and I'm a counseling psychologist who specializes in supporting Black women journeying through grief and other life stressors. And it's really my joy to be here with you today. On this Labor Day, Grief Awareness Day weekend, it seemed fitting for us to consider the experience of working while grieving. Okay, so that's what we're going to spend a few moments of our time together considering. Okay, so now The Golden Girls is one of my all-time favorite shows. So like Sophia, I want you to picture it. Baltimore, 2009. A 35-year-old newlywed relocates to the city to start a new job as a professor at an area college. She and her husband know that family planning while working can be a challenging endeavor in the United States. And they also know that struggles with fertility are very real for millions of couples, and that the likelihood of those struggles increase with each aging year. And so, concluding that there's really no perfect time to add to your family while working, they decide to go ahead and try to start to have a family. And they conceive right away. Well, okay, we just came off the honeymoon day. Okay. So I conceived right away, and and they are pregnant with identical twins. Very exciting, right?
Yeah.
Yes, initially. Then anxiety provoking as they learn that identical twin pregnancies are actually high risk to both babies and mothers. Something that they just never knew. We don't really talk about. So in the story now, we have a new marriage in a new city with a new job and a new high-risk pregnancy. That's a lot of new to adjust to at one time, and it was a lot of new for me to adjust to at one time. And one of the most striking features of all this adjustment for me was the extent to which the new high-risk pregnancy was going to have to involve kind of like a coordination and involvement from the new job that they were going to have to be involved in. So I was going to have to share personal details about my life so that I could access the college's special leave, unpaid special leave option that they offer. One of the things that I found, really quite bewildering was the extent to which I had to struggle to access that. Even if we want to do that, we want to drop out of the world, most of us can't. Most of us have to go back to work, right? We have to work. We're not independently wealthy. So when my son died in 2010, Maryland did not have any form of bereavement leave. That actually changed in 2021. So during the height of the COVID pandemic era, Maryland actually amended its Flexible Leave Act so that employers who have at least 15 employees have to allow employees to use accrued paid leave for bereavement purposes. Now you could only use that leave for bereavement over an immediate family member, and they define immediate family member as a child under 18 or a child over 18 who had a mental or physical disability and cannot care for themselves. I'm not exactly sure why it's that specific, as if any other child over 18 does not need you to read. But it includes that, it also includes a spouse, and it includes a parent. So those are the three, kind of relationships for which you can access this leave. Maryland is one of 5 states in the entire country that has bereavement leave law. The other, only 5. The other 4 are Illinois, Washington, Oregon, and California. And of the 5, Maryland is actually probably the most generous because they do not put a limit on the number of days you take leave beyond how much paid time you've accrued. So the other states, they will still put, a limit. It may be, maybe 2 weeks or less. Okay.
I just love people. Thank you so much. You heard it first from Dr. Grieving, and that's what we do, people, at IOPGC, and that's why we talk about workplace grief. The pandemic, they call me Pollyanna, so they'll say, Dora, find the positive in the pandemic, and I'll say that the pandemic has forced us to look at front and center the fragility of life itself. And the pandemic has forced organizations and workplaces to realize we have a problem. Employees are grieving. We've never had to deal with this before. What do we do? How do we manage? How do we support? It's not a sympathy problem. It's not an empathy problem. It's not a compassion problem. It's an education problem. It's an education problem because we've lived in this bubble of the grief avoidance society, and it's looked at as a dark topic. We only talk about it when we have to talk about it. But now, thanks to the pandemic, we're forced to talk about it. We're forced to learn about it. And our workplaces are forced, as Dr. Grieving said. Sheryl Sandberg was fine with Facebook offering 4 days bereavement leave. It was fine, that's what they always did. Until her husband, Gabe, died accidentally. And she said, it follows you. It follows you in days. It follows you in weeks. It follows you in months when you cross the threshold. And they had to do something. Okay, I'll go. Dr. Raymond, thank you so much. It's an honor to spend our Thanksgivings in Hilton Head. And he died 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. So that year, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I didn't want to do the house visits and the turkey and the family, and I didn't want to do any of that. Now, I don't remember how I found the Holiday Project, but I found the Holiday Project. And I contacted this lady named Robin, and she says, sure, you can participate. Meet me at, this was a long-term care facility, rehabilitation facility in Alexandria. And I showed up not knowing what to expect. But she assigned me to 2 residents that day who didn't have family members visiting them for Thanksgiving. And the first was an elderly lady, and when I went in, the Thanksgiving Day parade was on. Well, that was a grief burst. If you don't know what grief bursts are, that's that unpredictable outburst of just tears, whether it's a sight, a song, or nothing at all. I saw the Thanksgiving Day parade on the TV, and I almost had a grief burst. I probably did have a grief burst. But this lady was talking, she was so glad to see me, and she started talking about what was going on in the parade. And I said, the parade, I usually look at that. She was telling me everything that was happening, and then she shared with me that she was blind. So she knew more about what was going on than I did. So I watched the parade with her for a little bit, and then Robin assigns you to one, then you have to go to the next and to the next. So as it was time for me to leave to go to the next, she started crying. And she said, please don't leave me. Well, listen, I'm new to the project, so I'm trying to follow instructions. So I said, I have to go, but if I get an opportunity, I'll come back. And I went to the next one who was writing an angry letter to the establishment. She was just angry. And she said, well, what do you want? Who are you? And I told her, and the long story short, by the time I was ready to leave, she put the letter down and she said, I don't need this anymore. And she says, I want you to come to my church, because she had broken a leg or something and said she was leaving. That's why she was writing an angry letter. And she said, I want you to come to my church. And we talked about church and we talked about friendship. I never would have experienced this had it not been for my grief. And I can go on and on and on about my personal benefit. And I thank you so much, Robin. Robin Wiley is the president of the Holiday Project. It's a nonprofit organization that organizes visits to patients living in hospitals, nursing homes, assisted living facilities during the holiday season and on other special days throughout the year. The Holiday Project brings the spirit of a holiday to those who might otherwise not have a celebration. Robin Wiley. Thanks so much, sweetie.
Project of the National Capital. Actually, I'm president of the Holiday Project nationally. And what we do is we bring the spirit of the holiday to those who might otherwise not have a celebration. You may not realize this, but of the folks that are confined to nursing homes and assisted living facilities, over 2/3 of them receive no visitors. And so we're trying to change that and get people out there and interact with people again, not just on holidays, but also on other special days throughout the year. So I'm going to tell you a bit about 5 women that I met.
Thank you very much. But you know what? Whether you are grieving or supporting others who are grieving or not, this is an excellent opportunity to help someone else. I like to tell our coaches that one of the benefits of working through your own grief is to reach out and help someone else. And sometimes it doesn't mean you have to help someone who's grieving. just help, just smile at someone who might be having a bad day. Someone who is angry with their boss that day. Someone who needs a cup of coffee. Janice is helping people all the time. You can go to St. Luke's Catholic Church and she's just all over the place helping everybody do everything. So the holiday project, I'm grateful that I found it. And you have information in your gift bags that has a little thank you note that actually has the contact information for all of our speakers today. So yes, I highly recommend that. Ajidi, you're up. Be careful this way. Okay. Anything except the R. What time for circle? Okay. Okay. While the door prizes, there are a lot of door prizes up here. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay. We're going to briefly do a circle of love. So just grab your candle. I don't know that we can form a complete circle, so maybe Valerie. It's kind of electric in here. What does everybody think? Yes. So. Wherever you are, I just want you to close your eyes, open your heart, and remember the smile of the person who is no longer here in the physical presence with you. Close your eyes, open your heart, and remember the smile of the person who is no longer here in the physical presence with you. And then, Alex did this a few minutes ago. On the count of 3, I want you to loudly say their name. 1, 2, 3. And now together, as we pull our energies together, I want us to repeat a unity affirmation that says, we are love, we are light, and together we are strong. Let's go.
We are love, we are light, and together we are strong.
One more time.
We are love, we are light, and together we are strong.
And virtual hugs to each other. There are no words for me to express that. So hopefully a little bit of what I've given you, I pass the torch to you to go out and make a difference, continue to make a difference in the world of grief. I love you so much. You all know that. Okay, no crying today. Thank you to our Busboys and Poets staff. Wait a minute, I didn't get any continental breakfast. Okay. But more importantly, thank you to each of you. Thank you for spending a part of your Labor Day weekend with us. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing. Hopefully you can take at least one bit of information, not just for yourself, but those who you may support in grief, those other family members that you have. And remember to let them know that grief does not have to be dark. From my heart to yours, love and gratitude to everyone. Did I leave anything out?